Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Matt Horn
Is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
A Fireside Reading of Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Chapter 1. My father's name being Pirrip, and my Christian name Philip, my infant tongue could make of both names nothing longer or more explicit than Pip. So I called myself Pip, and came to be called Pip.
Hello, Matt. This is Gildart Jackson. I'm calling you because we're supposed to be having a podcast, but you're not there. So I'm going to leave you a message that tells you to get back to me so that we can have a podcast. We were going to talk about Fireside Reading, which is a new project I'm doing during the days of coronavirus. So give me a call back when you can. Bye.
On the line, we have Gildart Jackson talking to us. From where are you talking to us from, Gildart?
From Los Angeles, California.
I have to ask the question, is it in lockdown?
Yeah, we're all in lockdown. Difficult to go to the grocery store at the moment.
Well, obviously, this has been a running thing for the last week. It's obviously the elephant in the room, which is COVID-19. What's it been like for you, Gildart?
Well, luckily, my family have no elephants in the room at the moment, as in COVID-19 elephants. So we're all just getting on. It's worrying, but it's also quite pleasant. I have 2 daughters, and my wife and family, we're all at home, enjoying each other's company.
Obviously, this whole crisis has brought up 2 terms, which are now terms that people probably will want to banish after all this. Self-isolation and social distancing.
Yeah.
What's that been like for you?
I suppose, like everybody else, it's difficult. It's difficult to not have the ability to just go out and do what you want to do. I am incredibly lucky. I do a bunch of audiobooks in a studio at home, so I can continue to do those. And so work-wise, we still have that, which is great. And also, I took the opportunity to do something that I hope might be a gift to sort of the community at large, which is I started doing this Fireside Reading idea, which is that I read a chapter of Great Expectations every day, live on Instagram, 5 Pacific time. I've been doing that, and I've been enjoying doing that. I look forward to 5 o'clock every evening to sit in front of the fire and read to everyone. So that's been fun.
I mean, obviously, this is what I was going to get onto, which is obviously the new project of yours, which is obviously this Fireside Reading. What an absolutely clever idea.
It's a very old idea. I'm a fan of Dickens. He wrote his books in installments. He didn't write it as a big book that went out. He wrote it, and it got released in magazines. So basically 2 chapters every month or so would come out in a magazine, and people would rush to the newsagent, would get the magazine, would bring it home, and would sit in the living room or the drawing room and read it. And somebody would read it out loud in front of the fire with everyone sitting around. It was the old form of entertainment, and he was incredibly popular. Everybody would run and binge on reading this thing and then wait another month and run and binge on reading it. Even more strange is that I happen to be very tangentially related to Dickens. He married my first cousin 4 times removed, strangely.
So it's almost like giving something back then, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, in a way, that's the hope. That's the hope. When my mum was alive and my dad was alive, if they'd been stuck in Cheltenham, which is where I come from, now, self-isolating, you know, they would have been old and wanting for company, and they could have turned the television on, and probably that's what they would have done. But a sort of simpler way might have been for them just to turn this on and be read to. I know they would have liked it, and I hope to be able to give this back to people who will like it.
I do have to obviously point out that given the fact that nobody's allowed to go anywhere in Los Angeles, the smog and all the pollution has gone in Los Angeles because there's no traffic, there's no congestion, there's no traffic. But I'm now thinking, is the pollution now coming from your fireplace?
Well, the secret is that it's a gas fireplace, so I suppose that does pollute, but maybe not as much as others.
You see the gag there.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I get it. And it's amazing here in LA how different it is without cars every day.
This is an age-old question. Is it impossible now to get young people interested in books because they're too busy watching Netflix and Amazon Prime?
Yeah, I would have said in answer to that question, it is hard. But 5 years ago, it seems to me that nobody did any of the sort of simple, quiet things that are now very popular. And I think being read to in front of the fire has a sort of primal part in our psyche. And if people are wanting to have a sort of slightly simpler, kinder, gentler form of entertainment, I think there are people who will relate to this kind of thing. And I think there already are. I mean, it's amazing how many people that I know now meditate that didn't 5 years ago and things like that.
And it's almost like, I say it's almost like putting your tablet or laptop or whatever down, but technically you can't do that because you've got to do it on Instagram, haven't you?
Well, you've got to do it on Instagram or YouTube. Yes, you have to do that. What I've heard is that many people sort of make their living room or the room that they live in cozy, whether it be listening at night with the lights lower, and they just sort of get into the simplicity of the story by having their tablet or their computer on.
So obviously you mentioned there was 59 chapters.
Yeah.
So you've got at least a month's worth of stuff.
Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months. I read a chapter a day. Today I'm going to have to read 2 chapters because chapter 13 is not very long. And it's about half an hour a day.
And with that, obviously, given the fact that you're doing Great Expectations, what are you thinking afterwards? What books are you thinking of doing?
Well, I'm hoping that we'll be out of lockdown by then. The genesis of this idea was very simply that I wanted to give something to people who were locked up at home while we're all self-isolating. And I'll have to see if there is a demand for it, if people do want it and enjoy it, then I certainly enjoy doing it. And I might very well continue if people want me to, but I'm not really thinking that far ahead. I'm hoping that we'll all be out of our houses soon. I am going to finish the book even if we get out of our houses before the end of the book, but I will continue doing it until all the chapters are up.
Do you do requests? That's a great question.
Well, I was recently asked to do some kid books in front of the fire, and I think I will do a couple. It seems to me like the people who are really having a tough time of it at the moment, well, many people are, but one sort of category is parents with youngish children, and there are some great old books. I was thinking of doing a couple of Beatrix Potter books, and seeing whether parents like that for their kids.
I was thinking of the Jungle Book.
Yeah, I did an audio book of both the first and the second Jungle Book. Do you know the books as well as the movies?
No, the movies more.
Yeah, it's a bunch of short stories. One of them, I think, goes into Mowgli, what we know to be the Jungle Book, and then there are a bunch of other sort of characters and stories that take place in the jungle, and they're very good. That's another good idea.
One of the questions I will ask here, you'll know more about it being in America. What are your thoughts on how the government is sorting out stuff like the elderly and the homeless with regards to the COVID crisis?
I don't know a great deal of what the governments are doing with respect to the homeless. I try not to listen to American TV broadcasts here of the news. I found it very sort of fear-mongering, in my opinion, when this whole thing started. I'm much more inclined to watch the BBC or read an English newspaper online. So I'm more up to date on actually what's specifically happening in England about social issues. I feel like with the elderly, the key for me is that we all, by staying in our houses, if we're slightly younger, are attempting to help them. And that's a social choice that I'm certainly making, because I have old folks that I know and that I'm related to. I feel like if we can stop the virus, there's less likelihood that old people will get it and that they will die. And really, that's what drives me to stay at home. And I think the government has helped me realise that, certainly.
I mentioned before that you were British. I've not really spoken about the British response on the podcast yet, but ours is more or less actually, in terms of yours, it's a complete lockdown. I actually live next to a Lidl. I'm not sure if you know what a Lidl is, Gildart.
What is a Lidl?
It's your version of a Costco.
Okay.
Yeah. And literally there's a Lidl outside my house.
Yeah.
And then every morning there's literally a queue of people, about 50, 100, all standing in 2-metre blocks outside. Yeah. And that's just astonishing.
It's tough because the virus makes people afraid of their neighbours. And at times like this, we actually are very good at rallying around and helping our neighbours. And so there's a sort of interesting dichotomy at work there.
Our Prime Minister is now out of the disease, the virus, whatever.
Yeah. I listened to his speech yesterday when he came out of hospital, and him thanking the NHS and the nurses, and I found it very, very moving. I was sort of proud of being British in that moment.
Well, obviously going back to Fireside Reading, are there any sort of funny anecdotes you can share about the obviously the live broadcasts of your series?
If the connection gets dropped, then there's just a gap. Nobody knows that you missed a bit of the book, but there's just a gap in the thing. And then doing it at home, I literally have a seat in front of the fire and then one camera recording vertically the Instagram feed and another phone recording horizontally for YouTube. And I set them all up, and sometimes my wife and kids sit behind and listen. We have a cat and a dog. They tend to jump in to the frame occasionally. I hope that is part of the charm of the thing, is that it's just a person sitting in front of their fire and reading and hopefully connecting with other people sitting in their living rooms.
The fire's not gone out yet, then?
No. Well, it is a gas fire, you see. We pointed that out earlier. It isn't likely to go out. It would be better with a real fire, but you can't really have those anymore in big cities.
I would imagine you're a week in now, so which episode are you on now?
14, so I'm 2 weeks in.
2 weeks in. So just imagine that by the end of week 50, you can probably get your dog to sit there and just watch you reading.
I know. When I started, I did think to myself, golly, in 2 months I'm still going to be reading this thing. But it's been very gratifying when I get comments from people saying, I'm sitting in Spain with my 9-year-old son, and we look forward to the time when we can, the time each day when we sit down and listen to the next chapter together. That was very nice.
Mm. Well, let's talk a bit about you, Gildart, you yourself. Yeah. What made you want to get into the industry in the first place?
Well, I think I always kind of wanted to, but I wasn't necessarily brave enough to do so. I was a lawyer for several years when I was younger, so I qualified as a barrister in England and came to America, and I was an entertainment lawyer here, always edging towards being an actor. I also write some too. So it took me a while. I was into my 30s before I finally gave up being a lawyer and started acting.
Obviously, you've been nominated for various awards to do with your audiobooks. I think we can say that. Yeah. And you've won multiple awards to do with your audiobooks. Here is a great question. What is it that makes a good audiobooker? No, that's the wrong thing. Person who reads audiobooks.
Yeah, you're right. Audiobook narrator, or
yeah.
I think we call them audiobookers from now on.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really know, is the short answer. I've always been quite good at reading out loud, and I think you can learn to do it better. I certainly feel like I have learned to do it better. It's an interesting job because it's not for everybody to sit in a room. It takes about twice as long to record an audiobook as its length. So if it's a 20-hour book, it takes about 40 hours to do it. So that means for 40 hours, you're sitting in a room by yourself reading. And I like that, but I don't think everybody does. So, you know, I have that arrow to my quiver, and I read well. I've always sort of read well out loud. I'm a slow reader by myself. So I don't really know the answer to that question. I know of a bunch of audiobook narrators, and they all have that thing that they are able to read well. You do pre-read the book, but you need to be able to sort of give a slight performance the first time you read it out loud. There are some actors who can do that, and there are some actors who need rehearsal or whatever. So not all actors do it, and not all actors want to do it, but I just happen to be one of those that does.
Well, obviously, we get into your acting career now. This is quite interesting, which is quite varied and different. I suppose the first question I do have for you is, which actors have been your favourites to work with and why?
Well, my favourite actor to work with is a very beautiful woman whose name is Melora Hardin. She was on Transparent, which was an American show. She got nominated for an Emmy for that, and she also happens to be my wife. So we like working together, and so she is the only actress that I really consider I want to work with. And actually, I'm playing her husband on a TV show right now called The Bold Type. I don't know whether it's playing in England, but it's a great show. It's about 3 young women who go to New York and get a job in various different capacities at a magazine called Scarlet, which is sort of standing in for Cosmopolitan magazine. And Melora plays the editor-in-chief of the magazine and is their mentor and helps these young women as they go around sort of experiencing life in the big city and boys and dating and work and adventure. It's a really good show.
I'm going to ask a dangerous question now, Gildart. Yeah, I like the dangerous questions. So obviously you've said that you work with Melora quite a bit. Yeah. Are there any roles that you would like to do together that you haven't done yet?
Well, that's not dangerous. I thought it was going to be much more dangerous than that. Yeah, we'd like to do a whole host of roles. I mean, we don't work together that often. It just so happens that she got me the job playing her husband on The Bold Type. We've done a couple of things, and we made a movie together, which was fun. The movie is called You, Y-O-U, and we made that with our family, and I wrote it, and she directed it. We're both in it, and friends are in it. And it's a very sweet movie. So, yeah, really just the act of working together with your partner and learning how to collaborate, getting better at it, more connected is something that we're both interested in. And so really any opportunities to work together we'll take and enjoy ourselves. We happen to like each other, which we're very lucky about.
I suppose that helps.
It does.
Yeah. I don't think I've actually met a pairing yet, as in a couple who work together quite a bit. That's a bit interesting in itself, isn't it?
It is, but if you think about it, I think lots of people work together. Lots of husband and wives have businesses or own a shop or, run a restaurant together or do this or that. And I don't see why it's necessarily very different when you're an actor. You have a lot of competition to get the parts. If you're lucky enough to be in a relationship where you enjoy each other, you sort of want to make it happen as much as possible, especially since, for example, Melora's show, The Bold Type, it shoots in Montreal. So that makes a challenging aspect of the movie business because you do shoot on location a lot. And when one of you is away, you have to keep working at the relationship. So when we're both shooting on her show in Montreal, we're both together, and the kids can come up too. And so, it's a way just to be closer physically as well.
Obviously, I do need to mention, because I looked at your IMDb, that you're not just purely, obviously, an audiobooker. Is that a term? I don't know. Or an actor. You've also done a lot of voiceover acting for games as well, and more specifically animation, one of which is being Castlevania, which is on Netflix right now.
Yeah, so that's a great show, and the guy who created it, his name is Warren Ellis. Do you know about him?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's a very well-known graphic novel, writer. He writes and it's called Show Runs Castlevania, and he wrote a character that I auditioned for, and the character's called Fly's Eyes, and it's completely wacky and really fun to do. And he sends out a weekly newsletter, and he just said some very nice things about me in his latest newsletter. I was very flattered. So yeah, it's a great show.
You're the first person I think we've had who's had a reoccurring role on General Hospital.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That's right after I quit being a lawyer. I got a sort of day part on General Hospital, and 9 months, a year later, I was still working on General Hospital, and they'd increased the role, and it's one of the sort of classic American soaps that plays every day during the week, and people in the middle of the day sort of go and watch it, and you shoot an episode a day, and it's quite an adventure. It was really good for me because I didn't really know much about acting then, and I did it and got better as an actor, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Can you remember any of the plot lines that your character had to go through?
In a year, basically, I never met a doctor, so I don't know why the show's called General Hospital. I was a playboy, and I had a boat. We went from port to port, all shot inside a studio, and I think the thing about a soap opera is that if you miss a month, you are going to come back and know exactly where you are because nothing really has happened. That is the great skill of those writers. They are able to make you want to see what's going on, but nothing really happens. So yeah, in the entire time that I was there, I met the girl that I had the affair with. I took her away from the chap she was previously in love with, and we went around the world and sort of had arguments occasionally and then made up, and that was it. That was the storyline for about a year. It's funny how the Fireside Reading thing is, in a way, its own soap opera. It's a slow-moving but exciting book that takes place over a long period as opposed to you get it all in 45 minutes.
I'm just thinking, how are you going to end it?
Dickens does a very good job of ending it. I say the end, and then I click off the Instagram camera.
Oh no, you've got to do something like an explosion or a party popper or something like that.
Maybe a party popper. Maybe we'll be able to wrangle the cat, the dog, my wife, and 2 daughters, and we'll all be able to, huddle together in front of the fire and wave or something.
You've got to do something for the final episode. People have been watching since 2 weeks ago.
I'll ask everyone who's watching to come up with a few ideas, and the best idea, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So how can they do that?
People respond on Instagram, and people add comments to YouTube. So both of those, I'll take a look at what the comments are.
Well, I'm going to give you a 1 minute plug, Gildart. A 1 minute plug to plug, obviously, Fireside Reading, and anything else you've got coming up.
Fireside Reading, the idea is if you know somebody who you think is having a difficult time of the whole lockdown, please tell them about it and let them see whether they might be interested in it, because if they are, it would be wonderful to get it to them and for them to be able to just feel a little companionship during difficult times.
What a way to end the podcast. Well, Gildart, it's been a pleasure interviewing you.
You too, Matt. Thank you. You're in Leicester, huh?
Yes, I am, yes.
Well, I tell you must have been very happy about 3 years ago.
We can't forget about 3 years ago.
I don't think anybody ever will. Even in LA, everybody came up to me and told me about Leicester City. But you'd be doing great this year too.
I thought you were talking about the digging up of the car park.
I didn't know about that, but I knew about Leicester City.
Oh, okay.
What happened at the car park?
Well, they found Richard III, didn't they?
Did they really? I didn't know that, you see. I wasn't watching the BBC.
Yeah,
they found Richard III.
Yep, found Richard III, did the whole DNA testing, and they found out it was him. And they gave him a state burial.
Really? Was he a little guy?
No, he had a weird spine, though, if I recall.
Yeah, really? Wow. That's fascinating. You see, I need to keep up with the news. I gave myself a moratorium when Trump got elected. I couldn't deal with the news anymore because he was just front and center every day. So maybe that coincided with that. But Richard III, I'll have to look that up.
Well, thanks very much for your time, Gildart.
All right, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.